awesome workshop. But today is all about grants, particularly Gitcoin grants. So I'll give a little bit of kind of like a background on Gitcoin for those of you who don't know. And then the purpose of today's workshop is to show you at least like how to create a builder's profile that you would then use to submit to either a GG round, so one of the Gitcoin rounds, or a community round. And since Gitcoin has open sourced its grant stack, you'll actually start seeing there's community rounds being run all the time. So keeping an eye on Gitcoin and what funding opportunities are available there and knowing how to submit a really great application is an awesome way to ensure that you get paid either proactively or retroactively for the work that you're doing. So I'm just going to drop a series of links into the chat right now. So if people come in late and they're asking for the links, please, if you could just like copy and paste this over for them. But I'll have the presentation link if you want that. We have the builder link that'll take us to Grant Stack where you'll actually make your application. And then we have the application link, which is essentially your workshop assignment. It's to create a mock builder application and then actually submit it into our mock round. That way you just get an idea for how the flow works. I will, to start, I'll just share my screen. And perfect. Okay, and if anyone has any questions, please just like unmute yourself because when I'm in the share screen, I actually can't see anyone if you're writing questions in the comment section. So just to go over a little bit about Gitcoin, if you haven't already heard about Gitcoin. And so I don't personally work at Gitcoin, but I am a round operator. What that means is I have run a ton of community rounds using Grant Stack for various protocols like Unlock Protocol. I did one with GreenPill and Octant. And then I'm also on the Gitcoin Community Council. So it's like an elected position, and I help determine, along with the rest of the council, what communities are going to get matching funding. And so if you don't know, Gitcoin is essentially a grants platform that uses different models. It's most well known for QF, which is quadratic funding, which is essentially a democratic way to raise funds. And so when people make a donation to your project, it's like a donation and a vote. And so here are just some fun stats. To date, Gitcoin has had 4.2 million unique donors. They've given over $60 million to public goods in the crypto ecosystem. And there's been 170 different funding pools and rounds, which I think are some really, really powerful stats. Even things like actually Optimism, Uniswap. I know that you're doing some stuff with StarkNet. So there's like Jedi Swap. There's a lot of really well-known either blockchains or dApps that have actually raised funding on Gitcoin, and some of them even started getting their first bit of community funds from Gitcoin. So it doesn't matter if your project's new or if you've been around or established for a long time, or you don't even have a project yet, keep Gitcoin in mind because at some point you would be able to apply to it. So here's some of the stats. So Gitcoin launched in 2019. And since then, as I said up here, they've been able to help spread over $60 million to various projects. These projects can be like open source software, it could be Web3 tooling and infrastructure. It can be running community meetups. It can be like hosting a podcast that's crypto oriented. So the funding goes to like an array of projects. So it doesn't matter what kind of builder you are and what kind of skill set you have going through today's workshop. There are going to be rounds that you would qualify for. So it's just keeping your eyes and ears open. And so as you can see, Gitcoin has progressively been able to raise and give more funding. And so the last round that Gitcoin ran, which was just this last month, the total matching pool, in May, the total matching pool was over $1.5 million. They were able to raise another $632,000 in donations, and they had over 35,000 unique donors. And so kind of just looking at here, they had an open source software round, a crowdfunding round. They had, those are actually, never mind, I was reading that incorrectly. So these are just some of their stats from like GG19 to GG20. What I was thinking I was reading is over here. Um, which is they had a bunch of different rounds. So they had climate solutions, DeSci, developer tooling, ENS. So if you were building or integrating ENS into your project, there is a round for you. They had hackathon alumni. So I think this is important, especially for those of you participating in this F3 workshop. Maybe some of the assignments you're doing might lead to like a hackathon project of some sort. So you would actually qualify for like an upcoming GG round. So let's say you build a hackathon project and you want to keep building it out, you would potentially be able to access funding. There's hypercerts, open civics, regenerative land projects, which essentially was like people using technology in the real world to help do things that are good for the environment. TAC, which stands for like the token engineering, Web3 infrastructure, dApps and apps. So lots of funding opportunities in Gitcoin. Here's just some other stats. You can like kind of look at these things after. And here's some of the programs I thought you guys might be interested in. So in the hackathon alumni, which some of you might qualify for, there was over $100,000 in matching funds and an extra $11,000 in donations raised. And so as you can see here, also in the dApps and apps, same thing. Lots of funding came in to 153 different projects. And so all of that, I'll stop sharing my screen now. All of that is essentially just to kind of like highlight, if you didn't know about Gitcoin, there are a ton of funding opportunities there. And that was just from the rounds that Gitcoin funds. There are at any given moment a lot of other rounds from ecosystems. Aave just ran one. I know that Sui just launched one as well. So there's, again, tons of funding opportunities all the time. So keep your eyes on Gitcoin, and I'll actually just drop the Explorer link too, so that you have it as a reference. So that's the link you can always kind of look to see what's up. Now, what I want to do is just show you how easy it is to actually get money and to get some funding. So here is just like a mock of, this is real, but it's like a fake round. This is the round that I made. And so essentially, this is what an application would look like. You would click into it. I've put this mock round on Avalanche because they're one of the sponsors of this event. And you would learn a little bit about the round here. It would tell you like, what are they looking to fund, who qualifies for this. It'll tell you the eligibility requirements. And then all you would actually do is click apply. And then it would take you to the ability to like actually fill in your information and kind of go from there. And so because I already have a project, I just want to show you what the builder page looks like. So I dropped it in the links, but this is going to be your assignment. I'll just drop it again here. So the homework assignment for you guys, and again, this is the first step in ensuring that you're actually able to access funding through Gitcoin, would be to build out a project profile. So all you would do is click, and again, you can choose any of these chains. You can actually build your profile on any of the chains, but when making a submission, so when you submit to the mock round we have, you'll have to have a little bit of gas fees on Avalanche to submit, but you can actually build your application on any of these. And you would just click new project. It's very easy. Next, put in your project name, could be whatever, website, logo, banner, project description. Again, it's very, very straightforward. It'll ask you for like your GitHub, it'll ask you for your Twitter, just general kind of information. And I'll show you what a couple of finished ones look like. So this is an actual project that I helped manage their grants for. So this is a real application. As you can see here, we've been in lots of different rounds. And so this is like what a good finished application would look like. So you'd have like a nice banner, you'd have your name, and it's also good if in your top name, you kind of put a little bit about either who you are or what your project is. You can see here it's just like website, this kind of stuff. And this is what a finished application would look like. This was us applying to the ENS round. So we have like a lot of ENS heavy stuff. You can just see here it has like the problem, path forward. We've put in some photos to kind of represent what the project is. a high level of like what Rooted Labs is. Again, this is a real project, so your mock ones are going to have a lot less information because this is, you know, this is a real one. So yours doesn't have to be as intense, but this is just what a real application that you'd be putting in to an actual Gitcoin round might look like in terms of information. And if your project's just starting, I can show you another example. If your project's just starting, so I also have done some for GreenPill. You can just see here, we have like links to a podcast episode we did. These are just a screenshot of like a Figma, the Figma designs and mockup we have for an app that we're building. So it doesn't have to be anything crazy visually, but it's just something that can kind of like help capture what your project is or what you're doing. And if you are an individual applying, it would just look something like this. So this was, that's me, but this is an application I made for a citizens round. And so you can see here, my description is not a lot, but that's because the actual application had like 5 or 6 really in-depth questions that I put stuff into. But a personal one would probably be like a little bit less. And you'll see these for like the Gitcoin citizens round, because what they like to do is to retroactively fund people who are contributing to the ecosystem. So those are just some examples of like what an application or a good builder application would look like. And before I go to the next step, does anyone have any questions about anything that I've shown currently before I kind of dive into like actually applying to the mock round? And you can either ask in the chat or unmute. Okay, I don't see any questions, which can be good or bad. I'll take it as a good sign. And so as you can see, I do have a lot. Some of these are mock ones though, because and some of them are real ones. But as you can see here, it says like apply to the F3 example round. So I would just click apply, apply. And here I would select what project I'm applying with. In your case, if you only have one, then there would only one would pop up. For me, I've got a lot, but for this one, I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to click my grant stack one. You just answer like, is this a safe or a single sig? This is here mostly because if it's a multi-sig, it kind of catches it if maybe you're putting in a multi-sig for the wrong chain, because that can happen and then your funds get sent somewhere else. Or you can have it just be a single sig wallet. You just copy this here, just fill out this stuff here. Funding sources, let's just say, I'm just putting random stuff in right here, just so you can kind of see. And so this is one of like the specific application questions. And so what have you found the most informative about F3? I'm just going to put everything they rock. Preview application. So it'll show my like little profile that I built out here. And then it'll show the other information that I need. And I'll click submit, proceed. Your wallet will pop up. So I don't think you can see my wallet pop up. It's just going to ask you to sign a message. To log back in. They'll just store your data for you, save it. So, because the idea is that your actual profile page is saved on the chain. So for this, this is going to cost me about like 20 cents, 50 cents to put in. Depending on the chain, obviously, the pricing varies. And so one of the cool things with the builder thing in GrantStack is like when you build an application, you can like use that application for a ton of different rounds. It's not as though you can only use it once. And obviously that's like the cool part about your actual builder profile being on chain, is you're able to access it and submit to essentially any round that is put up on GrantStack. And then you can just edit it as needed. And then up here, it'll say like, thank you for applying. And that's it, really. It's like a very easy thing to do. And then you'll see here on your builder's profile, it just says that it's in review. And then you can always like, and it shows you like the round dates, like what round you applied to. You can click view your application if you need. So once you've applied, you can't edit this question, but you can edit your actual profile. So if you wanted to go in and add more information afterwards, you can just click edit. Oh, it's going to make me go to that profile's on a different chain. But if you need to edit your profile, it's as simple as you just click edit and then make sure you're on the right chain that your profile's on. And then just the same way you built your profile, you'll be able to edit it, save it. It'll save all of the, everything you put will be saved on chain. And then again, it'll just pop up here into your builder's application. So that's like the easy bit of it. Okay, I see a question here. What would be a cost of saving applying? Can we use testnet? Let's actually see. I don't know if there's a testnet. I don't think that there's a testnet version available, but my recommendation would be like you could use Polygon's pretty cheap. Then there's Base and Arbitrum. So my recommendation would be like if you want to kind of play around with it, again, it's only ever going to cost you like cents. Yeah, someone also said OP. You can use any chain. So you pick whatever chain you want to use and to actually like build your profile. But the building of the profile shouldn't cost you more than 50 cents. If not less. Sometimes depending on gas, it's cost me like 1 cent or 2 cents. And then again, anytime that you make an update, you will have to pay gas fees again, but it's like very, very little, like we're talking cents. And you can build your profile on any chain that you want. You will just need the gas to apply on whatever chain it's on. So in this case, Avalanche for the assignment, and that it might cost you like 50 cents of AVAX, I think is how you pronounce it. Okay. Okay, what do you mean by round or application round? Okay, that's a good one. So the idea is that when you're building out your project page, you are essentially building out a profile that you can use over and over and over again. You might make little edits or tweaks depending on what round you're applying to. And so at any given time, like there could be like 6 different rounds going on at once. So each round is like, has its own matching pool, has its own rules, and is looking to fund certain types of work. And depending on what you do or what you've built, your project might actually qualify for all 6 rounds. And so you would want to apply individually to each of those rounds, but you might only have to use the one application. So whenever applying to a round, you want like that round's link. I'll share our mock one here. So this is the one that we're using. But I'll show you what it looks like on Gitcoin's Explorer page. So you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. So here, there aren't a ton of rounds that you can apply to right now because it's kind of like in between a bunch of the community rounds. But you can see here that there's 17 rounds that are live on Gitcoin's grant stack that you could theoretically apply to if you qualified for them. So any of the ones that say like apply, those are like open for applications. If it doesn't say apply, it just means the application window has closed. And this one here is an actual like SUI one. They have 500,000 of SUI. It's a matching fund, and there's 32 projects currently. There's 3 days left to apply. You would click apply. And then I'll take you over to this tab that I've clicked. And so it would pop up here. And so this is the application page. So it's telling you here's like the the time that you can apply. Here's when the round is live for donations. Here's like a little bit about what the round is funding. Here's the round eligibility criteria. So again, this is a real one, not a mock one. And so you would kind of read through this and it's like, okay, maybe you're an NFT marketplace, or you're a social platform, or you do some type of marketing stuff, you have community engagement, you are able to put forward a really great roadmap with milestones, and you have a good budget as to like why you're seeking a certain amount of funding. Then if you're like, perfect, I can do all this, you would click apply to round. And then I'll share this tab over. It's probably going to tell me I can't, only because I don't have a Sui wallet. Yeah. So then, but what happened there is I clicked apply to this round. It brought me to now my builder. So if you can see up here, it's like the builder.gitcoin, whereas this one is explorer.gitcoin. So it takes you to your profile page that's associated with your wallet that you would have used to kind of create your project page. And then in this case, I don't have a Sui wallet, so I can't click switch network. But if I did have a Sui network, I would just click switch network. It would switch it, and then I would be able to apply to the round the same way that you saw me apply to the Avalanche F3 test round. So I'll stop sharing again so I can see. So hopefully that answers your question about what I mean by application round. And then does anyone have any other questions? Okay, cool. So the last couple of minutes, I kind of just wanted to go through some tips. At the end of the day, it's not overly complicated to build out your Gitcoin builder page or builder profile. Like the technical aspects of it are relatively simple, as long as you like follow like the steps and make sure that you're in the builder. That's where your builder.gitcoin.co is where your profile will be in, and explorer.gitcoin.co is where you would be like looking and applying to the rounds. And in some cases, like what I have shared here, I've shared a direct link to the round. So all you would do is click that and then sign in with your wallet, and then you'd be able to apply. So the technical parts of building an application are not extensive. Honestly, what will ensure that you get funding and actually be able to access the millions of dollars in matching funds that are available through both the GG rounds as well as all of the community rounds is making sure that your actual application is solid. So I'll just quickly go over, just like it's in the Figma presentation I shared, but just kind of go over a couple of the like good tips and tricks. So I put this here just for everyone because I know sometimes it can be hard to figure out how to put in a picture. So I always just put the like this and meme, and then you just copy paste the URL, and that's how I actually get pictures in my application. But in the Figma file or presentation here, you just have some like quick tips and tricks to make sure that your application really, really stands out. But the TLDR is that at the end of the day, most people, when looking to make donations to your project, are really only going to read the first little bit. And then if they're really interested, or if maybe they've never heard of you before, they'll go and kind of read the rest. But just making sure that that first bit of your profile really speaks to like the strength of the impact of what it is that you've done, or what it is that your project's building, like why it's powerful, like what's the problem, what's the solution, because people kind of skim. But a really, really strong grant application can genuinely help you access thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars in funding. And like I said, you can be technical, you can be non-technical. You're able to access funding as long as you meet the requirements of whatever kind of funding round is out there. So I know that was like probably a lot of information, and we're kind of coming up at the 30-minute mark. So again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Oh, Hey, Alon. How far along do projects typically need to be to get funding? Good question. Really, the only actual requirement is that your project should be 3 months, um, like 3 months or longer, and that's mostly like a Sybil resistance tool. So, as an example, like let's say that you're applying as an individual for like a citizens round, which is to funding for people, then your Twitter has to be more than 3 months old. If you're a project, yeah, they just would like to see that your project be minimum 3 months old, just to kind of prove that you didn't just make it to get money and that you're fake. So my recommendation would be if you're thinking about participating in an upcoming, yeah, exactly, DG round or a community round, to just, whip up a Twitter. It's really like Twitter is like the main thing that people check. But even then, honestly, sometimes even if your project doesn't have a Twitter that's 3 months old, you still can sometimes be accepted as long as you're able to just show legitimacy in your project in terms of how you fill out your actual builder application. Um, and again, to stress, like in your application, you can actually apply to these rounds saying, um, this is what I intend to build. This is like our project and like what we want to build. So you can also access funding, a little bit of startup funding to actually build something out. It's not always like retroactive. So it is a really great way if you have a project idea or like a DApp you want to build, or some type of software or something, and you'd love to have a couple $1,000 to help get you going, then definitely applying to some of the Gitcoin rounds can be really, really useful because, again, some of the funding is proactive. It typically is more proactive than it is retroactive. So it's good for startup capital. Okay, next question. Does Gitcoin have additional support for projects post funding? Uh, well, actually, you're allowed to keep applying. So if you, unless the rules state like, oh, once you hit X amount of funding, you can't apply anymore, but you actually would be able to continuously apply to these rounds. And a lot of projects do that. So that's why it's important to like actually build out your profile page and make your updates and follow like what Gitcoin's doing, because they regularly run these, as well as there's always community rounds. And you're allowed to apply again and again. It's not like a one and done situation at all. And then in general, the Gitcoin community is really great. So a lot of grantees, you might find other grantees in your round and work with them. I've had that happen where someone else in in a round that I was in as a participant reached out to me, and then we've collaborated on the project because of it. So it's also just like a really good supportive builders ecosystem to be in. You can go on Twitter Spaces and show your project and network as well. So there's a lot of things outside of funding, but you are allowed to like continuously apply for funding again and again, as long as they don't have like a cap. But if you're just getting a couple thousand, you can apply like multiple times. So I hope that answers your question. Perfect. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? I'll be in Telegram, and feel free to hit me up if you're getting like stuck with something uh, in when you're doing your application. Let me know. And again, the homework assignment is, or I think you guys are calling it like workshop assignment. I'll just repaste all the links actually. Um, is to just create a builder's profile and apply to the F3 mock round that I created. And so you're totally allowed to just create like a bare bones like thing and have it be just you, and you don't have to have a whole project thing. I mostly just want you to get used to like how easy the flow is so that you're not intimidated to actually apply to real grants rounds. But also feel free to take it as an opportunity to build out a working skeleton for your project. And if you want to work out a working skeleton for your project and submit it, ask me and I will give you feedback on it. So if you also want to use this as an opportunity to build out a real profile for your project, I can give you some feedback in terms of like what I think, because I'm a round operator, so I see a lot of them. I can give you some feedback as well on how to, pump it up to get more funding. Okay, awesome. Well, I think that if anyone has any other questions, but otherwise I think we're kind of at time.
Thank you so much. That was very, very informative and super clear. I've reshared the workshop tasks and the builders link and the application link as well. And so when you have completed those, make sure you take a screen grab of that mock submission and submit it to the submission form. So it's all in Telegram now. So yeah, thank you all for your time. Thank you, Lana, so much.
Yeah.
Sarah's will continue there.
Oh, thank you. And yes, build your profile, get paid. Gitcoin is a great resource for all kinds of builders in crypto.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.